What is DeepSeek Harness for? It brings AI directly into your workspace. This is more than a new chat window. It lets an agent read, edit, and run commands in one selected project while risky actions wait for you. You will get a screenshot-ready setup and fit boundary checklist. In August 2026, DeepSeek AI released immutable DeepSeek Harness DSH v0.10 RC7. This episode is pinned to that release, the official guide, and its source commit. It remains a developer preview with possible compatibility breaks. Attention does not prove quality, performance, security, reliability, or production maturity. This video is packed with practical, high-value insights to help you get better at using AI. It's a longer one, so follow Tiny Agent and save it so you don't lose it. Complete 3 settings first so DeepSeek Harness enters a real project instead of waiting in an empty chat. First, start the web UI from the project directory. The official guide says DSH uses its launch directory as the default file system location, while a fresh web UI still has no workspace selected. Second, open model settings, enter a DeepSeek API key, and save. The model route becomes available without a restart. Other providers and OpenAI-compatible endpoints require their own provider configuration. Third, add and select that project directory. The session input stays disabled until a workspace is selected, preventing a task from starting without a clear target. Only then are the model, workspace, and session connected. Use the official sample task first, summarize the repository and identify its main packages, then verify that the agent sees the right project. If the directory is wrong, later reads, edits, and commands operate in the wrong context. Check both the launch location and the selected workspace before the first task. This setup does not grant unlimited authority. It places the agent inside a named project boundary, while later actions remain subject to the active permission policy. Chapter Recap. First, start DSH from the target project. Second, configure a model and verify that its route is available. Third, select the workspace explicitly before opening the session. Give it a familiar project task next, and DeepSeek Harness becomes easier to evaluate. The official guide says the agent can read and edit workspace files, run commands, delegate work, and maintain plans. It can connect investigation, modification, and verification instead of only describing what you should do. Begin with a read-only task, summarize the repository, find an entry point, list important packages, or explain where a setting takes effect. Verify its project understanding before allowing writes. Then try a bounded change with acceptance criteria, edit one piece of copy, fix one narrow bug, and run a named test. State the target files, allowed scope, protected areas, and verification command. Delegation and plans help structure larger work, but a queued task is not completion. Review the actual artifacts, diffs, and test output before accepting the result. The practical benefit is less manual copying between chat, terminal, editor, and project files. Context and actions stay inside the selected workspace, but the ability to read, edit, and run commands does not guarantee correctness. Critical changes still require diffs, tests, builds, and external state checks. Chapter Recap. First, use a read-only task to validate project context. Second, give write tasks a narrow scope and a real verification command. Third, accept artifacts and evidence, not the existence of a plan. When a task wants to edit files or run commands, know exactly when a person must take over. The base bundle combines workspace write with ask approval by default. Whether an operation prompts depends on the active permission policy. Commands are not universally auto-approved. The user approval documentation defines one-shot grants. An allowed decision covers only the requested action. There is no allow always choice, remembered rule, revocation store, or permanent grant database in RC7. If no answer is available or an answer fails, the request fails closed. Cancellation, rejection, or unavailability does not become a fabricated success. Approval belongs to an open turn and writes paired audit records. The model receives the eventual tool outcome rather than treating the permission interface as conversation content. Human takeover is concrete. Stop when write scope expands, a command may affect state outside the workspace, secrets or deployment are involved, or an action is difficult to reverse. Do not read one click as future permission. Recheck the target, effect, and recovery path for every risky action. Chapter Recap. First, the permission policy determines when an action must ask. Second, an allowance covers one action, not future actions. Third, missing approval or audit failure must close execution instead of guessing. Use outcome risk to decide whether DeepSeek Harness fits the task. It fits bounded, inspectable project work, reading a repository, finding entry points, making a narrow edit, running tests, or preparing a change summary. Each has a clear workspace and repeatable verification. It also fits tasks that need a sequence of tools, investigate, edit, then run a command to validate. The agent can maintain the plan and project context within one session. And it fits exploratory work where you grant authority gradually, begin read-only, allow limited writes, then accept or reject the result from diffs and tests. It does not fit unsupervised high-risk production operations, undefined repository-wide rewrites, environments exposing broad secrets, or tasks where one mistake is hard to reverse. It also does not replace acceptance. The guide establishes current capability entry points, not reliability across every plugin, model, or project. RC7 is still a developer preview. If your workflow requires long-term compatibility, stable APIs, or production guarantees, run isolated experiments and recovery drills before adopting it. Chapter Recap. First, prefer bounded project tasks with inspectable outcomes. Second, keep irreversible, secret-heavy, or production-critical work supervised. Third, treat a developer preview as an experiment until your own evidence says otherwise. Compress the decision into 5 checks you can screenshot and reuse before a task begins. 1. Workspace. Does the launch directory match the project selected in the interface? 2. Task. Are the target files, allowed scope, protected areas, and completion criteria explicit? 3. Permission. Which actions are read-only, which may write inside the workspace, and which require one-shot approval? 4. Acceptance. Which diffs, tests, builds, or external state checks prove the outcome? 5. Takeover. Who confirms deletion, deployment, secrets, out-of-workspace effects, or irreversible consequences, and how will you recover? If all 5 have clear answers, begin inside an isolated project. If one is unclear, narrow the task, lower the permission level, or handle that action yourself. This checklist is not a security certification and does not establish production fitness. Screenshot the DeepSeek Harness setup and fit boundary checklist and use it on your next agent task. Chapter Recap. First, confirm the workspace and task boundary. Second, define permission, acceptance, and human takeover. Third, when one answer is unclear, narrow the task instead of expanding authority. What is DeepSeek Harness for? It brings AI directly into your workspace. It connects a model, project files, commands, plans, and approval inside one workspace task, so AI can investigate, edit, and verify within an explicit boundary instead of only answering questions. Check workspace, task, permission, acceptance, and takeover before starting. This remains a developer preview with possible compatibility breaks, and attention does not prove quality, performance, security, reliability, or production maturity. If you brought an agent into your project, would its first task be reading code, making one narrow fix, or running verification? Share your first task in the comments. Follow Tiny Agent. Tiny Agent helps you get better at using AI.